Warami, everybody. Good evening, and thank you for joining us for some late night literature. My name is Maddi Miller. I'm a Darug woman, archaeologist, creative, and researcher at the University of Melbourne. Right now, I'm joining you from my slightly haunted spare bedroom on Wurundjeri country. I say slightly haunted because definitely some strange things have happened here. And the previous owners put about a dozen Virgin Mary statues in the roof above me, and I'm not taking them down. Tonight, here on Wurundjeri country, it's really beautiful. I think it's the shortest day of the year. And I hope that wherever you are coming from tonight, you've been able to into the country on which you are on. I pay my respects to the lands, waters, elders, ancestors of this place, and also to my own elders and ancestors, and to the unceded lands and waters of where you're all joining us from tonight. Please feel free to pop in the comments in the live chat to tell us whose lands you're joining us from today. So tonight I'm joined by some incredible First Nations talent for the Bogong Systems Breakdown event. We will be delving into the future, exploring the collision of human and machine and what that all means for culture and society. So, to kick things off, I would like to read to you a short story that I've written in response to this theme. As an archaeologist, I imagined the archaeology of the future and what will be left of the world that we know now. I've also been reading about the impacts of microplastics and how they've infiltrated nature and how they've even found their way into human placentas. I've also been fascinated by bioplastics, plastics made from seaweed, and in the circularity of time and how it is inevitable that the future of humanity lies in our past and the lessons laid out by our ancestors. So this is my short story. The sound of the grinding stones echo across the valley. It's early in the morning. The soft light barely kisses the ground through the canopy. The birds woke up hours ago, and I with them. They sing to each other, they sing to country, and they sing to me. Standing in the river, I feel something slide across my calves. An eel. Its soft skin brushes against mine for a moment and is gone. My hands flutter over my belly. I imagine the eel is the baby growing here. I imagine it metamorphosing from glass to alva as it enters the next phase of life in fresh water. But this eel was born somewhere in the coral sea, alone without a mother to guide them. Still, they made it home. A small slip of a thing, navigating the open sea, tracing its ancestral path to this river. A knowledge ingrained in their DNA, a call from country, so strong it carries across the waves. Our ancestors have met time and time again over millennia. I wonder if those meetings have left traces in our DNA, a meeting orchestrated by country and the cells of our bodies. The water is clear, but the eel has already moved on. One day it will make its way back to its birthplace to make life and then die. Or one day they might find themselves in my net. Will I remember them before I eat them? When my feet are numb, I lay down on the smooth stone at the river's edge. The reeds sway around me, whispering their secrets. The sleepy magic of the morning is starting to burn away as the sun tracks higher. I need to go home. I fill my dilly bag with river mint before I go. The path home winds around small hills and through a labyrinth of broken things. The people here before us had much, but they took even more. The open wounds they inflicted on country are starting to heal over like keloid scars. But I can see where the old road was, what used to be hot, black bitumen that burned your feet and poisoned the water. The remains of crumbled buildings are scattered through country, interspersed by the gums that tower over everything. Piles of brick and concrete sit like scabs upon the landscape. I cradle my stomach as I walk, feeling the tiredness wash over me. I won't be able to do this much longer. As I draw closer to home, I can hear the busyness of morning preparations. Campfire smoke lingers in the air. I can smell bread. I reached our house first, a small one-room structure built from bark and sheets of rusted iron. I step inside and am met with a strong embrace. You woke up early, he says into my hair. Then stepping back, he takes my dilly bag from me. He peers inside. I'll make some tea then. As he busies himself, I pull off my shirt. My belly is long and distended. It glows faintly green in the soft light that infiltrates the cracks in the walls. The thick straps that hold the womb to my body are starting to cut into my shoulders. I run my fingers over where the womb and I meet. It molds to me and moves with my breath. Like bottled glass, I can only see the faintest hint of what is within. It is green like the eucalyptus we live under, green like the river mint, and green like the seaweed it is made from, this child born of sea country. Here, he says, placing a cup on a low table, let it steep. He moves to me and kisses the womb. He lives with the same hope I have, the same hope all carriers have. We share this burden and this blessing. We share our energies with the wombs, a community of people trying to create life. You must be tired, he says. It's my time to carry. He touches his torso, tracing the port below his rib cage, the place where his energy will be shared. Carefully, he helps me release the womb. I feel lighter and emptier. I support the womb as he attaches it to his torso, and it molds to him. The womb shifts. A small foot pokes out. Gently, he places his hand on the foot, guiding it back into the darkness. We take our tea outside, and I sit with my head on his lap, listening to the one that is growing. I remember the stories my grandmother told me, of a city now swallowed by the sea. As I fell asleep, she ran her fingers through my hair. She told me stories of the people who lived there and how they forgot to speak with country, of a time when the night sky was lost to the lights below. Sometimes I close my eyes and listen for her voice on the wind. I wonder what stories I will tell you, you born from sea country and sustained by the love of your community. Thanks. So our next speaker is the wonderful Carissa Lee. Carissa is a Noongar woman born on Wamba Wamba country, and they are an actor, writer, and PhD candidate. Carissa's writing was featured in The Guardian, Junkie, Book Riot, and Witness Performance. She is featured on The Sammy J Show, House Husbands, and recently finished a season of the Noongar play Nyonk, I hope I said that right, at La Mama for the Year Boy Festival. When she's not acting or writing, Carissa works as a commissioning editor in Indigenous public policy for The Conversation. Thanks, Carissa.
Hey, this is such a weird little screen. Saying hello from Bunurong country. I also acknowledge elders and mob and hope that everyone's keeping warm on this very cold night, wherever you are. I am sitting in my dining room, surrounded by candles and pictures of loved ones and books. My cats are sitting in front of the heater and are very unimpressed with me being over here and them over there. So I'll be reading a piece. It doesn't really have a title. It's kind of in the style of a monologue. So basically, you folks are going to be someone I'm having a Zoom chat with, which I think we're all very used to right now. Yeah, so I'll get started. Okay, sis, you'll never believe what's happening right now. The world is healing. Okay, so less people were commenting on my social media posts. I was getting likes and different reactions, but I wasn't having to deal with, the usual suspects, putting in their 2 cents about racism, saying that I was too sensitive and that. Making snide comments under my posts about animal rights, like that for every animal I don't eat, they're going to eat 5 or some shit like that. I mean, It's been kind of nice not having to defend myself in my own damn comment section. Also, not having to worry that the people I work with will realise half the people I went to school with are a bunch of small town racists and then probably think I have the same views as them. It's hard to juggle. I mean, I often wonder if it was better to just be quiet about the stuff that worries me. I mean, it's a bit rude to delete these people. I don't want to seem like a snob or anything. But anyway, after about a month or so, I noticed that these same people still weren't commenting on anything. I very briefly thought, well, maybe they're finally getting with the times, getting acquainted with different views of their own. Maybe this is what learning looks like. But then I saw my friends list had gotten significantly smaller, like the number. So I had a look through, and all of these usual small minded people were gone from my friends list. So I started looking for these profiles, like Amber, the bleach blonde racist, who, by the way, has so turned into her mother. Melody, who was a stupid cow who just hung out with them and hung shit on me just so they wouldn't bully her. And Ray. Oh, bloody Ray. We were in year 6 or something, not that old, but every person in my class had had a boyfriend or girlfriend at some stage, except me. Anyway, Ray asks me out through some notes during class, and after school, I go to hold his hand, and then he shrieks, saying he's going to get Blackie germs, because that's a thing. Turns out the whole thing had been a prank, a dare from his mates. Ugh, he's such a dick. Anyway, back to the other day. I thought, shit, did I get drunk one night and get all inspired to do some mass friend cull because I'd gotten a bit angry while Facebook stalking and seeing those assholes saying this, sharing the same hateful shit they usually did? Because I couldn't find any of them. Now, true though, a while ago, Amber posted some video where a woman was claiming Aboriginal women were more likely to be perpetrators of domestic violence than any kind of man. Apparently, we're more violent. Oh God, one of them was about to be true God. So I commented saying, "Oi, hello, Aboriginal person here. You can't seriously believe that shit." And she replied with, "Nah, you're one of the good ones though." And then, 2 seconds later, Melody, fucking Melody. Oh, she replies with, "Calm down, love. You're barely black anyway. Your kids will be white when they come out anyway." God, I hate it when people say shit like that. So if I did drunk delete these assholes, I think I'd be pretty bloody justified. But then I started thinking, what if these assholes deleted me? How shame job is that? All these years of putting up with their shit and staying friends with them just to be polite, and these motherfuckers delete me? I don't think so. Hey, so true. I thought, I'll add those pricks. I'll re-add them just to delete them again. Because I can't give them the last word. Yeah, fuck them. But I couldn't find any of them. I found the nerdy ones, like the popular ones who were always nice to me but never actually friends with me in school. They were all there, but all the white trash I went to school with was pretty much gone. So I messaged one of the other girls I went to school with, the only other sister girl in school, and I was like, "Hey, you seen these people just gone? I think they might have blocked me. Are you still friends with them?" And she just started laughing, saying, "Hey, you don't read the news much, hey?" Now, I was so confused. She told me to Google this thing called prejudice filter. So I did. And I see this article with a picture of Pauline Hanson at the top of it. In the photo, she's all mid-whinge. You know the face. The caption under the photo read, "Hanson states new prejudice filter is a violation of free speech." Scroll down a bit, and I see there's a new feature that some social media outlets are testing out. It's called a prejudice filter. Now, this prejudice filter is apparently this new feature that censors when people are being racist, misogynist, transphobic, homophobic, you name it, and you get booted off all social media sites and you can never use them again. And this new mod they're starting to talk about is that the second you partake in any of that kind of hate speech, you're not only booted off social media, but your work gets notified, like your job, and that you say that kind of stuff, and then it's up to them whether they fire you or whatever. Because I guess some companies, they probably have it in their contracts that you shouldn't be a racist prick, which is fair. But yeah, so if this new thing passes, people could get fired for being racist bastards. How good is that? Anyway, Pauline Hanson was having a big old cry about it, and Prime Minister Penny Wong had to calm her down and that, saying, "Whoa, okay, we can't control this prejudice filter. It's at the discretion of these social media sites. We probably won't let them add this new feature though, so don't worry, Pauline. You'll probably still have a job." Of course, that went down like a bag of shit, and Auntie Pauline went ranting about something else. But yeah, this is amazing. We no longer have to worry about this shit online. I had to further look into it, and school bullying's gone down, discrimination in the workplace. Like, people are starting to see that racism has real consequences. Maybe that means they're starting to see the harm it can do. We can hope. But of all things, like social media, bloody social media had to be the place to teach this. Maybe this country has started to realize that prejudice is kind of awful. Hmm. Kind of wish they'd add this new feature where people can get fired for being prejudiced, though. Because let's be honest, Indigenous people, people of colour, LGBTQIA+, disabled people, neurodiverse people, and all our proper allies, none of this slacktivism bullshit, we're all going to take over the damn world. And it's going to be amazing. And why not sooner than later? And those small-minded motherfuckers, they just got to keep up. Yep, that's my whole piece. Thank you so much for listening, everyone.
Thanks, Carissa. That was so amazing. I really hope that that is an actual thing that happens in the future. Sounds fantastic. Our next writer tonight is Gary Lonesborough. Gary is a Yuin writer who grew up on the far south coast of New South Wales as part of a large and proud Aboriginal family. Growing up, he was a massive Kylie Minogue and North Queensland Cowboys fan. Gary has experienced working in Aboriginal health, the disability sector, and the film industry, including working on the feature film adaptation of Jasper Jones. Gary's debut YA novel is The Boy from the Mish. Thanks, Gary.
Hi. Yes, so I'm Gary Lonesborough. I'm coming to you from Yuin country tonight, and I'm currently sitting in my at my kitchen table. So the piece I'm going to read for you is an excerpt from a piece I wrote a few years ago now, and I didn't finish it. But I thought it was pretty good. It sort of fit with the theme, so I did a little bit of editing, and here we go. It's inspired by the song There Is a Garden by Archie Roach. The survivor spoke of a garden beyond the mountains and bush, a safe haven, a paradise. That's where I'm headed, but that smell is in the air again, that awful smell. What was burning was not wood. I'd seen this before, smelt this before. I've heard the cries that accompanied this smell, but there are no cries this time, only the crackling of fire. I trudged through the bush, breaking dead leaves and sticks beneath me. This hill I'm climbing could nearly kill me, but I pushed aside my hunger and forced my legs to guide me to the top. It is late afternoon, but I can see the smoke rising in the air, filling the sky like clouds. As I reach the top of the hill, there is a glow in the distance. My body wants me to stop, to sit and rest, but I can't. The glow attracts me. I know where I'll see, but that doesn't stop me. I must keep going. I must force my legs to step forward towards the glow, towards the distant fire. The smoke is everywhere now, all around me. The distant sun struggles to beam through the canopy as it sets. I keep walking towards the orange glow. There is this pain in my stomach which comes and goes. I haven't felt it for a few days, but as I walk towards the furnace, the pain comes back. It feels like a dagger, stabbed deep into my intestines, twisting very subtly and slowly. Then I see it, the fire. This fire brought new death. Bodies rest on the pyre and hang from the trees. The fire consumes them. Their skin melts from their bodies until they are just charred, stringy carcasses, roasting in a demonic inferno. If I had anything in my stomach to vomit, I would have been on my knees. I turn away, walk before the fire consumes me too. I take out my tablet. The battery is running low, and I haven't been able to charge it in 2 days, but I'm getting closer to my destination, the garden. The survivors told story about the place, and told me that if I kept walking north, I would find the garden where fruits and vegetables still grow, where people survive and treat each other kindly, care and love. asleep in a burrow where perhaps a wombat lived 20 years ago before they succumbed to extinction. When I wake, it is morning. The sun rises weakly. I swing my bag onto my back and continue through the bush, through the grey and black leafless. I think for a moment that I hear a tree, but I hear a bird, but I quickly dismiss it as my imagination. I remember the last bird I saw. It was a white cockatoo. I was a child and it sang all the time. But whenever I looked at that cockatoo, I saw life. I saw the fragments of the world that was once civilized and normal. I saw evidence that that world my grandparents told me about was not just a myth, but was once a reality. I arrive at a town that existed long ago, where possibly hundreds of people lived together in peace. Now, in 2084, weeds grow through it. There is an old service station that is slowly being consumed by the nature around it. A tree grows through the station, its fluid branches reaching in and out of broken windows. This place is home to a different kind of cold. I walked through what was probably once a main street. A broken, tarred road grows long grass through its cracks. As I walk past empty houses and abandoned stores, I feel as though all the ghosts in the world are watching me. I walk into what looks like an old convenience store. I pass through the broken glass doors and icy spiderwebs. The shelves are empty and lifeless. Opened moldy cans and flattened packets of lollies and noodles cover the floor. I see an ancient newspaper whose shade has turned to yellow. I pick it up off the ground. I never really learned to read, but the picture on the front page shows an assembly line of refugees fleeing a burning city. I place the newspaper in my bag as it will be useful for making a fire tonight. The nights are getting colder all the time. It's dark out when I leave the town. My stomach aches a familiar ache. My head is dizzy and the smell of smoke catches me again. It's all I smell these days. The ground is wet. It must have rained while I slept. The muddy juice flows holes in my boot.
Gary, we seem to have lost you. Hopefully you can return, but that was really beautiful. I loved sort of the imagery that you created. If we can't get Gary back, maybe we might move on. I think our next, if he can come back, he'll come back later. But our next artist tonight is Kalarni Murray. Kalarni is a proud First Nations Australian woman. She has spent most of her life creating, and when asked to introduce herself, she always says creator and storyteller. It's beautiful. Kalarni has travelled across Australia in search of knowledge and creative freedom. She loves to sing, dance, act, draw, paint, play video games, watch anime, watch anime and write. Her goal is to make people think and feel the way she does, to understand the world from her perspective and through her creative work. If someone leaves having learnt something new, whether knowledge or emotion, she is happy knowing she has changed someone. So we'll have Kalarni first, and then we'll go back to Gary when he's back online.
Hi, my name is Kalarni Murray. I'm just sitting on my bed next to my mountain of plushies and surrounded by my many plants. I'm a proud Arnowin and Barkindji woman. I do any form of art I can get my hands on because I believe art is the closest thing to magic in this world. While studying my graduate diploma of Indigenous research, I am also studying game art and 3D animation. I am an actor, artist, and storyteller. Tonight, I will be doing a series of 5 poems surrounding this concept of technology and our world while showing you some of my artwork. Okay. It drips down the intruding dark, threatening the warmth we perceive. We cover it up, guard it, hide it, lock it away so no one can taint. As we have always done, this cycle of misconception, a delusion of dependency, so precious, so kind, such a small life, so easily crushed. Advancement, humanity's driving goal. We seek all, crave all, yet we must protect. It is our unbreakable oath, our tie that binds. It brews, it rumbles, we claw, we climb. I hover in the distance, grey winds drawing closer, screaming strings connect. You won't have it for much longer. Like a puppet, I jump, grabbing the threads of voices. These are ours. Black light bursts down, strength flows into me. I will never let go. The sounds of red clash, clay morphed hands support me. I am not alone. Bubbling rage retaliates. A song is lost. It laughs. Humanity must survive. Those stolen words lied to be inclusive. We must survive. Excludes the invader, broken but not defeated. We will never disappear. A gust of hope fuels me, raining desire. I will continue to grow. Piercing needles of dreams, shivering sprinkles of love. They belong with us. I struggle under the weight, floating in the shifting pressure. I will not be split. Thunderous sanity, erased time. I am the coming storm. We climb, we claw, it rumbles, it brews. What if there was life beyond the stars, crying out with their own scars, melodies of broken guitars, reaching out with their hearts? We quested, so we searched, just to be scorched, ego reinforced. We are the superior life form. Evolution created a river of complexities, gifted advanced technologies, lost were identities craving for transcendence. Humanity must survive. This fueled scientific drive sparked by the creative hive. Fiction, the catalyst of creation. With it, inspiration's winds of treason, a new science fiction season. The depths of human depravity explored. We were once confined, creator and monster, destinies entwined. Sought to be God, rejected, they walked a fine line. Now outcasted by their own kind, the new human. To space and back, science fiction gave humanity a hack. Wonder and imagination, ingenuity's fall back. What will come next in this song of attack? Our reliance on technology, a culture bred from artifice. What is real? We reach towards it, a new future, out of the rubble we come. Is that the wreckage of the past, the future, or the losses left behind? Advancement, we have wanted it, loved it, killed for it. I hope you're happy now. We march towards uncertainty. Will it be our savior or our murderer? So lost are we as a species. We find solace in the false and pain in the truth. I am no different. The new possibilities, they allow me to hide from my reality. What will I become? A creature unsure, anxious of time? Will my intelligence rise, or will I fall among the rocks of iniquity? Is technology so wicked, or are we as the user, devils that manipulate, creations so new, machines lost in greed? It breathes, it beats, it swirls, it feasts. Silence echoes in the confines of this tragedy. Culture forlorn, relay the false god's prophecy. Nothing ever truly takes shape. Imagine mirrors, reflectors of truth, yet they always lie. I weep, I scream, I gasp, I slice. Fragile being what? There is something I must say, it chokes my tongue. What would you call me? Child in the depths of dismay? Imagine mirrors in my mind reflecting the horrors within. They laugh, they scorn, they grin, they steal. Thieves of my mind, leave what was once kind. My knowledge, is it worth much? I'm left fraction as I struggle in their clutch. Imagine mirrors of their footsteps as I lie bloody. You whisper, you listen, you wonder, you wonder. Respect, not just a 7-letter word. Have you seen the New World Order? So long it has been. Let us shatter this border. Imagine mirrors in a world where collaboration's not just an expression. Thank you.
Thank you. That was really beautiful. Gary, are you ready to finish off your piece, which I was really enjoying?
Yes, I'm so sorry about that. Technology. I'll just pick up from when we walk into the convenience store. I walk into what looks like an old convenience store. I pass through the broken glass doors and icy spiders. The shelves are lifeless and empty. Opened, mouldy cans and flattened packets of lollies and noodles cover the floor. I see an ancient newspaper whose shade has turned yellow. I pick it up off the ground. I never really learned to read, but the picture on the front page shows an assembly line of refugees fleeing a burning city. I place the newspaper in my bag as it will be useful for making a fire tonight. The nights are getting colder all the time. It's dark out when I leave the town. My stomach aches a familiar ache. My head is dizzy and the smell of smoke catches me again. It's all I smell these days. The ground is wet. It must have rained while I slept. The muddy juice flows through the holes in my boots, soaking my socks. I squeak as I walk through what could have been the main street of this town. A thick mist of fog rolls across the tattered tar road. I pass through it. My own breath is visible, leading me. As I make my way along the dirt and rocks, I hear my father's voice telling me about when the flowers died and the food no longer grew on the trees, when all the living creatures could no longer reproduce because of the new poison in the air. He told me about how the computers and machines tried to grow food and make new animals to eat, and how that all blew up. Before he ended his life, he told me there was no hope, and I had no hope until I caught word of the garden. The garden keeps me going now. They say there is no poison there, and that it's clean. The computers there make good food for you, and it works in the garden only because of the purity of the soil where ancient Aboriginal tribes lived and breathed once. I may be the only Aboriginal person left now, but I hope there will be another in the garden. I keep walking through the dark, though the darkness is falling quickly. I take out my tablet. I'm not more than 5 hours from where the survivors said the garden was. I don't think I'll make it if I stop now. I'm too hungry. I'm too tired. I worry that if I fall asleep again, I might not wake, and it will be my body that gets burned. So I'll keep on, keep my legs moving, and when the sun comes again, I'll see the garden, and the garden will see me. All right, thank you, and sorry about that.
Thanks, Gary. I think it's very fitting that we had a technological collapse, given what we're talking about tonight. Thank you for that. Our next writer is Jannali Jones. Jannali is the author of My Father's Shadow, a young adult thriller set in the Blue Mountains, and winner of the 2015 Blak Bright Fellowship. Her fiction and non-fiction works have been published in Australia and overseas, including in Southerly, Overland, Westerly, and the Review of Australian Fiction. She completed a Master of Arts in Creative Writing at the University of Technology, Sydney, and she is currently working on a crime fiction novel. Very exciting. Thanks, Jannali.
Hi, I'm Jannali. I'm coming to you from the ladder room at the Varuna Writers House in the beautiful Blue Mountains. The piece that I'm reading tonight is an extract from a post-apocalyptic work in progress. And this section's called Viola's End. My world was a vast white plain, overpowering me every day with its emptiness. When I began to draw over the walls, covering small sections bit by bit, some of the noise in my head went away. They didn't like it when I did that. They took my pencils away. I found other things to cover the brightness: leftover food, soap. The heel of my slipper made a mark if I pressed hard enough. All these things they took away. They opened my fists before bedtime to check they were empty. I had no choice but to use the smelly stuff. Nobody could take that away unless they stopped feeding me. I had to see Dr. Starsh after that. It's not his real name. His real name was something Italian sounding and tasted like chalk. I could never remember how to pronounce it anyway, even though I liked to trace the cold lettering on his nameplate whenever I had to sit in his office. He had a big, thick moustache, like that detective on TV Mummy used to watch over and over again. His moustache hairs moved up and down in short jiggles when he talked. I liked listening to him. Some people just have a music when they speak. Dr. Starsh was the first. He told me they would look after me, and that he was sorry for my loss. He reached into my chest and pushed hard on my lungs, made my eyes sting. I didn't lose anything. I knew exactly where Mummy was, back at home, lying on the bedroom floor. But I wasn't allowed to go back there. I wasn't allowed to see her anymore. What he should have said was, "I'm sorry we've taken you away from her." Back in his office, Dr. Starsh asked why I'd played with the smelly stuff. I tried to explain about the noises again. It was hard because he always wanted to talk over me and became impatient if I didn't respond to his questions straight away. He didn't understand that he needed to wait for me to speak in the right second, when the right moment had come after the last sound has been made. Mummy knew the rhythm. She could speak like everyone else, but underneath she was just like me. Her pencil thin eyebrows drew together in concern whenever I told her about the new noises I heard. She told me to ignore them, that it was the only way, and I tried. I really tried. Yet when I'd gone days with a pounding head and the noises spilled out around me, Mummy and I could both hear the things being said. That's when she broke down in tears and told me I could let them back in. It was the first time she'd heard them since she was a little girl, she said, but hers had never been as loud as mine. Dr. Starsh listened this time and scratched marks on his planner. He nodded as his eyes probed mine. I almost thought he was about to understand, but then he made me promise not to write on the walls again, and they moved me to another room, a blue room. I slept well that first night. The sounds were gone, covered in blue paint. Then gradually, I noticed some bad things about the room. There was a skirting board that was too high for one, and the window faced west over the city. On the second night, I dreamt about a big bang. In the dream, I rushed to the window to see an expanding whiteness so loud it crushed every part of me until I was nothing but pieces scattered amongst the remains of the blue room. When I awoke, I was sweating all over. The white had found a way to follow me. The dream kept coming back, so I knew that something was wrong, and this time it wasn't just the room. Hadn't thought much about getting out before. They thought I couldn't deal with the outside, and I always believed them. So instead of asking to leave, I began talking about Mount Lofty. Mount Lofty, Mount Lofty. How I loved Mount Lofty was all I talked about. I told everyone about a trip I'd had there on my 10th birthday, sitting in the sun, eating scones. I started acting how they wanted me to act. Instead of sitting by myself, I'd sit with the other patients, speak the way they did, and smile at them when they spoke. I made an effort to eat more and never complained about how the pills scratched my throat on the way down, even though they still did. On the day of my birth, they had a surprise for me. Dr. Starsh had agreed to take me out to Mount Lofty. I acted surprised and excited, even though I'd known this day would come. On the way, I recited a normal conversation to Dr. Starsh, so he almost forgot who I was. We ate scones in the sunlight and put coins in the binoculars to see the city closer, even though we'd gone there to see it from far away. "I have to pee," were the last words I said to him. He told me he'd wait outside the girls' room. I felt a little sad for him as I climbed onto the sink and out through the bathroom window. As I passed the cafe, I felt sad that he would be blown to shreds of flesh. I felt sad that his moustache would no longer jig, that the hairs would singe and curl. I slipped into the ancient caves at the back of the mountain, where the people from before, the spirit people, used to come to draw. Maybe they heard the white noises too. When I found a warm, dark spot in the earth, I wrapped myself tight in my cardigan and wept. I felt sad for many people, but I was glad that I wouldn't have to hear the white noise anymore. Thank you.
Thanks, Jannali. I loved the description of the mustache jiggling. A great piece. Our final author tonight is Nardi Simpson, and Nardi's joining us through a pre-recording of her story. Nardi is a Yuala storyteller from New South Wales freshwater floodplains. As a musician and performer with the folk duo Stiff Gins, Nardi has performed nationally and internationally for the past 22 years. Her debut novel, Song of the Crocodile, was the winner of the 2018 Black and White Fellowship and published by Hachette in 2020. Her book was longlisted for the 2021 Stella Prize and longlisted for the 2021 Miles Franklin Award. Nardi lives in Sydney and is heavily involved in sharing and teaching culture in both her Sydney and Yuwalarra communities. So we'll cut to Nardi now.
Yamagindai Nadingaya Yuwalarai Waringa Bibidinga. Hello everybody. My name is Nardi. I'm a Yuwalarai woman and a Sangoana totem. I'm sitting in my living room in Sydney's inner west in Petersham. Behind me is a possum skin cloak. In front of me is a heater. I'm wearing a purple and pink Indigenous designed scarf, and my computer is on my lap and resting on a pair of pajama pants and really warm socks. Beach, river, rainforest, desert, mountain range, flood, plain. This patterning is powerful and it is profound. I do it often, reaching for opposites. By engaging with the concept of duality, an instance of opposition and contrast, I practice my Yuwalarai culture and assert my sovereign birthright. Locating conflicts side by side in such a way creates explosions of significance. Patterning duality enables the full force of each form to resonate. It bestows gravity, reveals authority. When I play in this way, I swim with significance. I am energized by potency, written text, spoken word, tradition, innovation, elder, newborn. Yuwalarai society is divided in such a way. Guwe Galir and Gwemudan are our moiety systems. These terms are the basis for organisation of every lived and non-lived thing in our world. People are located within and regulate this divide. Our law dictates Gwemudan and Gwe Galir specific sets of responsibilities, both separate and unique. Belonging to moiety assures families of relationship to specific aspects of air, water, earth, and meat. This is ours to celebrate and explore throughout our lifetime, and it is done in the knowledge. The opposing moiety blood explore and celebrate their belongings too, in a place outside of our scope of understanding and influence. Interpreting this as division and separation, however, fails to capture the beauty of what is actually taking place. Yuwalarai approach moiety, Guay Galir, and Guay Mudan, duality, as a sharing of rights and agency. It is not a denial. We complement rather than compete. In this way, we hold space for those we never can be. Miriyabara, Nungabara, Lignum people, Kurrajong people. Gin Baligal, Durangal, Scaly tribe, Feather tribe. Ipata, Kumbu, Ipai woman, Kambo man. This approach brings about a surprising consequence. In the contrasting of two, a greater space is imagined, and ecology blossoms robust enough to support its disparate halves. Duality unfurls as a flower upon stone. In this marriage we are able to see the mountain it blooms upon and the plain from which the peak rises. Men's business, women's business, secret, communal, bedrock, tide. This thinking encourages us towards a vibrant, colourful, divergent whole. This whole we have a word for. In Yuwalarai, it is Bayangali. In English, it is known as the natural way of things. So too human and machine. If we follow a Yuwalarai cultural framework, we will see one within the other. And of course, this is absolutely the case. You can't have machine without human. But lately I've been unable to shake the idea that these two things joined together generate a transgression of law. Colonisation is a machine. It is systematic, calculated, and so incredibly, terribly cold. Its structured and methodical processes are nothing more than the makings of man. For Yuwalarai and many other First Nation communities across the continent, there is no collision of human and machine in the context of colonisation. Tension does not exist here. They are one and the same. The machinations of man, his colonising processes, are arresting, remove children, indentured workers, displaced communities, extinct languages, disrupted knowledge systems, theft, massacre, violence, disease, incarceration, genocide. Colonisation's longevity and its potency reside precisely in the melting of man into machine, in its systematic failure to both recognise and exercise humanness. In colonisation's case, the rejection of duality has led to a complete absence of humanity itself. But First Nations people have remedy to this transgression. Our culture can in fact save the very people who sought to destroy it. We are able to model salvation because our technology, our computations are instruments of body rather than mind. Our robust frameworks mean our practices are not easily corruptible. Our value is placed in people, our own and those we may never know. Advanced scientific exploration is held in Mia Mie, the Seven Sisters dreaming, a constellation, topographical, trading, singing and story map of women's freshwater springs in Yuwalarai homelands. This technology is carved into the land and held within the sky, shared outside our boundaries with networks of communities across the continent. The mathematical and organisational prowess of our genealogists place generations of people in both landscape and connection. Their computations of historical, geographical, and familial data are extraordinary. This labour of love is freely shared with anyone who needs and who asks. Our master makers, fire keepers, and plant women keep their communities healthy, nourished, fed, and whole. Their ecological, environmental, and sustainable knowledge, a resource provided and shared, once again. And our language keepers, who through linguistic, cultural, and educational prowess rebuild and strengthen our worlds one word at a time, are professors of the people, giving away that which they care for and know. These are our philosophers, scientists, academics, mathematicians, and doctors. They are the future of this country. Duality insists they are also its past. Yuwalarai number no more than 4,000 people in this entire universe. Despite colonisation, we continue to survive. This is because Yuwalarai progress and technology is inlaid with motherboards of acceptance, generosity, and inclusiveness to those we belong to and those we will never know. Giro. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that is our last speaker for tonight. What a fantastic lineup. I've enjoyed each and every one of your contributions. Thanks to the Emerging Writers Festival for hosting this event in partnership with Blak Bright. And I look forward to the rest of the festival, especially the next late night literature, Imagining Abolitionist Futures. But thanks everybody. Yanu.